So everyone, including children, need goals. Now the children have been back at school for a couple of weeks and are getting a feel for the lie of the land, so to speak. This is a great time to help them set goals for the year. And we discuss this topic with our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush, who always brings the coolest props. Nick's awesome to have you back in the hot seat. Let's get right to the heart of the matter. Why is it so important for children to have goals? When can we start goal setting? Because it feels like quite an adult thing, goal setting.
Yeah, it does, Graham, but I think goals are really about having purpose and passion and seeing progress and growth in life. And they can start off really, really small in about grade 1, and then they can become really big, you know, once you've got teenagers. So a teenager might be looking at having their ears pierced, say a 13-year-old girl, where a 17-year-old might be getting the learner's license this year or a driver's license the next year. Somebody in grade 9 going into grade 10, choosing the right subjects. You know, your goals vary. It could be like a grade 0 child learning to walk to the classroom all by myself. You know, that's a big goal when you're that little.
That age, and of course it starts to build confidence, which I absolutely love. And I suppose you want it to be a compound thing. You want there to be a link from last year's goals and what they've achieved feeding into this year's goals. How do we do that? How do we create that kind of constant flow so they're always growing in that way?
Yeah, so this is an ongoing conversation that we have with our children. And it's about looking back on the year past and going, so, you know, what did that report card look like, for example? And if you got, you know, 68%, you know, as an aggregate, maybe you want to push for a B aggregate. So you need to go up by just 2 or 3%. And then you've got to break that down and you've got to go, so what do I have to do to raise my aggregate by 2 or 3%? Because it's all very well having a goal. It's another thing to actually work towards making that happen. And that involves things like discipline and commitment and doing the small baby steps that go to achieving that goal.
Because obviously you want to reinforce the positive, but not achieving goals constantly is going to have a negative knock-on effect. And I think when dealing with kids, often we want to talk to them in our language, but finding a vehicle that lets them get inspired and enjoy the process is probably the most important part. How do we engage their creativity, get them excited about setting and achieving goals?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you mentioned is we need to make sure that their goals are actually realistic. So we're not setting them up for failure or they're not setting themselves up for failure. And then, you know, you can do fun things with children. Like the younger they are, it's a version of the star chart, for example. So all those little habits that you need to implement to make sure you get that to that goal, you could keep a form of star chart. And it doesn't have to be just a normal star chart. I had cloud charts for my children where the clouds are going up a mountain. Yeah. They can color in a cloud every day if they do what's required. You know, it may be as simple as making sure you get your homework done, because the funny thing is, when my son went off to boarding school in high school, he came back after the first couple of weeks, and you know, boarding school, you have prep times where you do, everyone does homework at the same time. And his marks actually improved because of the discipline of doing the work. And he actually came home and said, it's not that difficult to do well.
It's not that bad.
You just got to do the work.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's so much easier when everyone else is kind of moving in that, that path. You brought yourself a mysterious jar. What is going on here? You
know, I always like props. So this is the conversation jar.
Oh, cool.
And what you can do with your children at this time of the year is go and get a whole lot of coloured paper or coloured board, give everybody a pen, and sit down with the whole family. And everybody gets to put at least 5 pieces of paper in the jar. So I've got a whole lot of goals here that I've written down that I think apply to many different families. So this one is cycle the Argus or the 94.7. So that might be somebody's idea of fun.
Somebody, she says. Yeah,
somebody else. My sons, my husband, they did those kinds of things, not me. Another friend of mine has children who do karate. So get my green belt in karate. You know, and that takes a lot of discipline. So we're learning life skills of discipline, commitment, perseverance, get colours for drama. This is, I had friends emailing these through to me last night of what their children are you know,
wanting to tackle. Yeah.
Save up to buy an Ninjago Lego.
So that is probably the most relevant of them all.
So that's the discipline of saving. You know, here's a lovely one. go fishing with Dad.
Oh, sweet, man.
So, you know, sometimes these goals don't have to be massive. They need to be quiet, gentle things in the background. This is all about togetherness, spending quality time
What
together.
I'm seeing in this is it's not just goals for your kids, but it's also a way of you introducing goals and making sure that the whole family is on the same page in that sense, and giving your children the opportunity to take ownership. They're not your goals. They're their goals, ultimately.
Yeah.
If you want them to achieve it, they must own that space and want to achieve those things. I absolutely love this. We're going to continue our discussion about setting goals this morning. It's hopefully that time of the year where, we've kind of found our feet and we can now start looking ahead in a concrete and more practical sense as what goals can we achieve for a brand new year.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
So a little earlier this morning, we spoke about the importance of goal setting for learners in this brand new year, and we're continuing that conversation now with our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush. I love saying it. I love saying it. I love getting creative with you. I love learning these life lessons. We love creative parenting. We don't like over-parenting. When does the goal setting become a bit of a grey area and we start then living vicariously through our kids? Is this a danger when it comes to goal setting, do you think?
Yeah, Graham, it is, and it's a big problem today. I think especially because parents are paying so much for their children's education, so they think their children should be overachieving at school because then it's proof of learning, whether it's in the classroom, on the sports field, or on the stage.
It's a return on investment.
A return on investment. And that whole thing of FOMO, fear of missing out on your children's talents. And the thing is, the talent takes a long time to reveal itself. It doesn't necessarily reveal itself all in 1 year, for example. And while children are actually persevering to achieve a particular goal, you might actually discover another talent. You know, so maybe they are saving up for something in particular, that goal being whatever, go and, you know, pay to have my ears pierced, or you're saving up for some piece of technology, so they save all that birthday money, all the Christmas money, you know, all the discipline around that. And, you know, there's just, you might discover that they are really good with money. You might also discover they're really bad with money.
More
so there are strengths and weaknesses that you'll discover along the way. And I think that's what goal setting is really all about, is learning about yourself. And actually you might have a goal that you realize is not really for you.
It's not authentic, yeah.
But I think be careful of having those crazy goals that, you know, you want your child to be this brilliant cricketer or rugby player, and actually that's not who they are, because it becomes really difficult for a child to maintain that trajectory if it's something that's not a heart's desire.
If they're not passionate about it. Then how do we motivate them to be their best? Because that's ultimately what we all want, is for them to be their best version of themselves, and to have those wonderful achievements in life. How do we, what's that all about?
So I think it's about helping your child to achieve their personal best this year. Not necessarily your personal best, not necessarily to beat everybody else. But what would be their personal best for this year? So if it is 3% up in a subject, which doesn't necessarily give them an A, but just 3%, that would be a personal best. What if it was shaving 3 seconds off their freestyle time in the pool? And when we talk about personal best, it's about finding your own rhythm, your own pace, your own stroke rate. And I'll never forget a swimming coach. My kids, like many kids, go for swimming lessons. And he said, to win, to break your personal best, it's not about matching your competitor's stroke rate and rhythm. It's about finding your own best stroke rate and rhythm, and then pushing to beat your own last personal best. So whatever the time was, can you go half a second better, 1 second better? And it's inching forward, because that's how we build confidence. You know, on small successes, one success after another, and failure in between, of course, because it's not always going to be a straight line.
Yeah, but and I think that journey is where you learn those vital life lessons as well. Nikki, it's so good to have you back on the couch. I love the conversation jar. Try that at home. Put some of those goals, your whole family, in a jar and start talking about those relevant goals for your kids, for yourself. This is a great time to be inspired. You've inspired us again. Thank you so much for coming back and being that voice today. We are so proud of you, and we love you so much, Nix.
Thank you, Graham.